So we're inside our loan calculator class. Now what we want to do is we want to extend its functionality. We've already established that we can work out the monthly payment for the car loan based on a loan class, where it gives you all the data that you need in order to create the right sort of return values. And because this class is called loan calculator, it makes sense that all of the calculations we do should be inside this class. Now you can see that some of the code is quite long. Although the other functions we create will be much shorter, it makes sense to tidy things up. So what we can do is we can use what's called a region. Now a region is a bit of code that can be collapsed. So press down Control, press K and S, and it says surround with. We want to choose region, press return, and we've got a region. So we now change that region's name to monthly payment, and that can also just be really useful because we can now collapse that and we can see much more of the code that we've got. Now we're going to do the same thing when we've done our other functions, but that just tidies stuff up. One of the reasons I chose the monthly payment as being the basis of our calculations and where I did all the hard work in terms of a prolonged and protracted calculation was to get that completely right, because we know that by default in our calendar our month is an easy thing to use, because there is some doubt if you started to use a daily payment method where some months have 31, some are 28, 30 and so forth. Some years have 365, some are 366. But a month we can depend on. A month is always going to have the number of months in a year as our constant rate of exchange, if you wish. So we've always got 12 months in a year. So we know that what we can do is if we know the monthly cost, we can work out the annual cost from this value by multiplying it by 12. We can work out, when we've got the annual cost, we can work out the weekly cost because there are 52 weeks in a year. And we can then work out the whole cost in two ways. We can multiply the annual cost by the number of years of our loan, or we could multiply the monthly cost by months in a year and years in a loan. So we've got a really good basis, we've got a reliable value to start from. So let's just set things up. I think it's always good practice to give yourself an outline of what you're going to do. And we're going to do it obviously in kind of three stages. So that would be annual, then weekly, and then the total loan cost. So that's what we're going to do, or actually not the cost, the payment, because I'm going to try and give you a bit of a kink that we could introduce into this. So I just put these down to help me to remember what to do, to be honest. And I've got three more methods to add for the annual cost, the weekly cost, and the total loan payment cost. So that's what we're going to set up next. So let me just get some stuff off my clipboard. So I'm going to say that this is going to be public again. It's going to be static again, so it can be called from anywhere. And it's going to return a decimal. And it's going to be called loan annual payment. It's going to need a loan to work with. It's going to be called my loan as usual. So that really just shows you that you can reuse names when you've got them carefully constructed. Put my calculation space in, and I'm going to paste in the code that does this, and you'll be very surprised. Okay, so in order to get the annual payment, we return, rounded to two decimal places, the monthly payment that we've already worked out times 12, and it's easy as that. And very similarly, when we go to the weekly payment, we'll get this annual payment and divide it by 52. So let's do that now. So I've pasted in the code in order to work out the weekly payment. And very simple again, we take whatever we've worked out being the annual payment, which is based on the monthly payment, and we've divided the value by 52. We've rounded that number to 2 so that we get a nice even currency looking type of payment. And what we'll try and do a bit later on is we'll try and make sure that maybe if it's appropriate, but it's not always appropriate, we'll try and maybe put a pound sign in front of some numbers, but I don't think it's necessarily appropriate here. So you can see that we're starting to build up a constructed set of values, and it really makes it easier if you choose the first one carefully. So what I'll do now is I'll paste in the final calculation that we have to do, which is the total loan payment. So I've pasted that in now. And you can see once again, we're using all of the things we've worked out before, and we've multiplied the annual payment by whatever term in years the loan class has. Formatted it again to 2 decimal places. So we've now got a full set of calculations that we would want to do for all of the things we're asked to do for this particular type of model. Now I can put sections round here, and I think that might be what. Let's just add in the formatting of the help spaces first. So got that. So that's going to be annual, and so forth. So I will just finish those off and then show you what we're going to do next. So I've added in the commentary using the 3 forward slashes. That makes it really consistent. It shows that you've got a style running through all of your code that you've created. So what I can do there is I can also do, that. Control KS, surround with a region. I call this one the annual. I think in the one above I did actually wrap up the commentary as well with it. But you can see that it's not very particularly important here because this is a very short piece of code. But if it was a lot of code and a lot of lines and so forth, then I think it would make sense to try and make your regions so that you can look at your code more effectively and consider where things might be going wrong, especially. And just makes it look terribly professional when you do that. So a real professional approach. We've got some very, very well formatted code. And that's now our loan calculator is complete.